Good evening. Yesterday we have gone through the question number 1 and 2. Just a minute, I will run the software which is required for me. Right, question number 1 and 2. Okay, we have gone through what is the need for object-oriented programming paradigm, and we have identified that. We have understood that managing the complexity is one of the issue, and we said that the modular approach is also not modular approach is a generic sense, right? In today's software, number of modules are very high number, but yet the same problem continues to be there. So we need a different mechanism. What is that mechanism? Is object-oriented programming paradigm. What are those principles? We will see it. Right now, when we are seeing the second one, the principles, here the principles are two, only two, right? First one is abstraction. Okay, second one is classification of abstraction in the form of hierarchy. Please look into that. This hierarchy, this is the only the language you'll be using it, right? So these two will enable to manage the complexity better, no matter, right, whether modules are large or whatever that is there. We will see it how it is and all. I mean, yesterday even Dikshita, she posed a question, right, and afterwards she got disconnected due to some reason. Dikshita,
Yes, sir.
that you were talking, okay, something yesterday. Even, okay, modules become very large and all, right? There was some question that you were talking and you got disconnected. Can we listen to that question once again?
Yes, sir. My question was, you told modular approach wasn't good because there were many models that were created and models were complex themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas in object-oriented programming also, we create many classes. So
Yes, yes, right.
we,
But the property of the class, right? Don't say class. Right now, we are not seen yet the class object and all. In object-oriented programming, we go for abstraction, we go for classification. How this will, okay, enable managing the complexity, right? We will speak. Though the number of abstractions will be more. Why and how we will see it. Okay, that's what I was telling yesterday, and you got disconnected, right? You will see it now. And you remind me this question, okay, after the end of this class test one and all, right? At some point of time. Okay?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now today we will go to the different key concepts of object orientation. List the key concept of object oriented programming. Tell me what are the things, right? Uh, Harshad D. Harshad D. Harshad, hello. Lavanya Pandit. Lavanya.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The
Tell me.
key concepts of OOP are abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism,
Hmm?
and encapsulation.
Right. Okay. Now, what is the difference between abstraction and encapsulation? Right. The key
Encapsulation, okay.
encapsulation and, okay, abstraction, they go on the similar track and all. Right. So abstraction and classification of abstraction result into different key concepts. What are those key concepts? The key concepts are nothing but, right, classes, objects, right, composite object, right, then inheritance, you talk about that, right, then encapsulation, whatever you talk, the different name for that, then you have a concept of methods, then your concept of say the visibility and all, right? These are the things that you can list, right? Are you clear about that? Hello, Lavanya. Lavanya, I'm audible. Dheeraj?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Ankit joined, right? So the key concept, okay, it is from, right, if we have a class, we have got object, we have got these two, we refer in terms of encapsulation, we refer, okay, inheritance, we refer composite object, we refer, I mean, methods, we refer, right, okay, many, okay, other aspects Okay, that's polymorphism, read right? These are all the key concepts of an object-oriented paradigm, right? All right. Okay, we will leave it here and we will get into one by one, right? That's what you will see in question number 4, right? Now the thing is how classes are different from okay objects and ADT, or in other words, what is ADT? Okay, what you mean by object? What do you mean by class? Can you people tell me about this? Lavanya, you continue. Lavanya, you continue. Lavanya. Aishwarya, K.S. Aishwarya.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you differentiate class from objects and ADT? What is abstract data type? What is abstract data type? What is abstract data type? And how it is different from class and object? Ankit, what is an abstract data type?
Sir, I am not that much clear with it. I have to work on it, sir.
Okay. Anybody? Dheeraj?
Yes, sir.
What is abstract data type?
So I'm not exactly sure about the abstract data type, but difference between class and object, I can say that, sir.
Tell me, what is the difference between the class and object?
So basically, class are the representation of abstract data types, sir.
That
But
means,
objects,
no, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. In the interview, if at all say class or representation of abstract data type, you should know what is abstract data type.
yes, sir.
What is that?
So abstract data types are just like a skeleton, no, sir.
Okay, we will come to that. Now, how it is different from object? We'll come to ADT. How classes are different from object?
So objects are the implementations, sir.
Implementation of what?
Implementation of abstract data types.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, correct. Okay, but let's try to look into these things, right? For the time being, okay, consider that you don't know the stack at all. Assume that you don't know the stack, right? You don't know the stack, right? Then, but you know the primitive data type like an integer, you know character, you know floating point number, right? You know arrays and all. Okay, all these things are primitive kind of data type which you know. So what you do is, right? I create a concept. I create a concept called stack. Assume that you don't know this, right? The stack, okay, the concept you create, then I use okay primitive data types, whatever integer, character, float, arrays, whatever that is there, primitive data type, and I will define the new operators on that. Consider that push is an operator, right? Push is an operator. Pop is another operator I define on that. Then display is another operator, okay, I define that one. Now, what I do is this entire concept, which allows me to define a new set of operation on the primitive, right, the data type, and the whole concept we call as an abstract data type. What is stack? It is an abstract data type. Are you clear about this? Hello, are you clear about this? Right? Now, okay, let me take another example. I'll take another example and explain to you the abstract data type. See here, right? Now consider the human being. What's human being, right? Human being is an abstract data type I'll build. So this abstract data type, I call it as a human being, is a concept. Abstract data type is a concept which defines a new operation on a primitive set of primitive data type. New set of operations. A human being is a concept called abstract data type, and I defined new set of operation: walk, talk, listen. All these things operation I do, I define on that, right? Then it has its own set of primitive data type available. Let me not call it the integer, character, whatever that is there. So this whole concept I call as an abstract data type. Abstract data type is a concept which allows you to define new set of operations on known primitive data. Are you clear about that? Please look, our journey started from abstraction, which is independent of computer science and engineering domain. Then slowly we enter into computer science domain, and the same abstraction, we talk about what is called abstract data type. Now, let me work on this particular abstraction. What do you mean by abstraction? What do you mean by abstraction?
Sir, abstraction means hiding the unnecessary details from the user.
Yeah, that means, consider those things which are relevant to you in that context and ignore rest all the things. A best simple example which I used to give in my class is, consider the ceiling fan, right? Ceiling fan, you know how the ceiling fan works? You know how the ceiling fan works, right? And it's simple. Switch on, give a power supply for this, give a power supply, it starts moving, and you can control its speed and all. That's all you explain. But you never explain about the kind of the magnetic influence that it has on the coil. Fleming's left hand rule, Fleming's right hand rule, which rule and all. You don't talk about that. All these things you ignore it. Ignoring in the sense, for you as an end user, you ignore. But the designer of that one, they consider all the principles and they design the ceiling fan. But for the rest of the world, the ceiling fan is simple. What is a ceiling fan? Ceiling fan, you switch on, it starts moving, you will get a cool air. That's all. Right? So, Dikshita, are you online? Dikshita?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now slowly look into that. Slowly it will build answer to you. So what is that I'm doing? I try to abstract so many things. The first 50% complexity, I have reduced it. Right? Now, now look at that. This is the entire thing is a solution space for me. Very huge project. Assume that Dikshita, you have produced this particular thing. Right? Now, I need to develop this. What I do is when I develop this, I will reuse this, or I interact with you, by considering only the interface, but I do not consider its internal things. I try to abstract this particular module, this particular class, this particular whatever you say. Right now we will say a module. Still we are not gone into the class. This module 2, try to abstract this module 1 in terms of what? What is there? It's inside. It doesn't understand it. I don't want to know. I want to know its interface only. What all the interface it provides. That's all. And make use of that interface like a ceiling fan. How many what is the gauge of the copper wire used inside, right? What is the length of the copper wire used, right? Look, I'm not connected with that. I'm connected with its interface only. Plug in, give a power supply, switch on, it works, right? Similarly, here I got all the interfaces for what work you are done. I ignore internal details. I consider only the interface. Thereby, the complexity of what Dikshita you are done, a red color there you are saying, right? I simply ignore it internal things. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
This is the one part of the answer. It is not a complete answer to your question. Correct. Now we are moving from abstraction, ignoring details, considering only that aspect, to a computer science domain, that is abstract data type, ADT. It is ADT, right? So abstract data type enables you to define a new set of operators on known information or primitive data type. And that concept you are naming, maybe a student is a concept. Maybe scheduler is a concept, right? Maybe college is a concept, maybe human being is a concept. These are all abstract data type when you enter computer science domain. Are you clear about the abstract data type? Dheeraj, Ankit?
Yes, sir.
It is a concept which enables you to define new set of operator on the known primitive data type. The new set of operator could be walk, talk, listen in case of human being abstract data type, or in case of a stack, right? In case of a stack, it is a push, right? It is a pop, it is a display, right? Or in case of a complex number, how to add the two complex number, okay, that add complex, right, number, okay, that will define how the complex number is to be added, right? So abstract data type, right, enables defining a new set of operator on known primitive data types, and the whole concept is given a name and is referred as abstract data type in computer science engineering. This abstract data type, when you now, this is a computer science domain, whatever you are saying here, look at the marking on the screen. From computer science domain, you get into programming language, say Java, say C++. There, you try to define a class. Okay, CAAS class, open flower bracket, close flower bracket. The class name is human being. And you write a method, walk, talk, listen. These are all methods, right? Now look at the green color marking, right? Now, this particular class, right, is the representation of human being abstract data type. Do you agree? That's what Dheeraj said. Class is a representation of abstract data type in a given programming language. Dheeraj, Arvind?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is a class, right? Don't use any book definition. Use what is that I'm saying to you. It is the representation of abstract data type. Right? Now the next question, again, he said that one, what is an object? Right? Look at the object. It is implementation of abstract data type. That means when you run the program, the instances of the classes are getting created. That means memory is allocated for that. The memory, I mean, the image of a class in the memory, or the image of an abstract data type in the form of a class in the memory, which is running, which is allocating the memory, which is being used and all, it is called objects. Right? So what are the objects? Objects are nothing but implementation of abstract data type. As simple as this. This is the very precise, right, the understanding of, right, class, right, object, and other things. Are you clear about this? Are you clear about
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Any question at this stage? Any question at this stage? The floor is open for the discussion on this, right? How classes are different from objects, right, and ADT. Classes are representation of ADT, objects are implementation of ADT. That's all. Are you clear? Shall we go to the next one? Shall we go to the next one? So the classes object, right, they are the key concept of object-oriented programming. We will see there are other things also. Shall we go to the next one? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sir.
right. Ashish, Dheeraj, keep on responding to my question whenever I ask, right? Now I wanted to know from Harshat D, right, how polymorphic calls help in code maintainability. Please look into that. I'm not asking what is polymorphism, right? My question is how it helps in code maintainability. Harshat. Harshat, are you in? Hello? Maruti Nandan. Maruti Nandan, are you in? Prabha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Maruti Nandan, can you tell me how polymorphic calls help in code maintainability? Now look at that. This you considered as an interview and you are supposed to answer.
So wrap up the data and code.
No, I'm not asking wrap up data and code. Are you telling about the encapsulation?
Oh, sorry, sir. Yeah, sorry, sir.
But I did not ask that. All of you remember that you are in 6M, right? You are slowly moving towards the placement. Placement as an aptitude, coding round, and interview, technical interview, HR, 4 pillars. Right. Tell me, Maruti Nandan.
Yes, sir. We can represent same thing in a different form. That.
No, my question is you are telling the polymorphism. I wanted to know how it enables code maintainability. Please look into Rahul Raichur. Rahul Raichur, are you in?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Right. How polymorphic call help in code maintainability?
Polymorphism actually encourages flexibility, sir. So
How?
it also helps in not sure about the processor.
No, that's not clear. Right? Varun?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Varun? Varun?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you tell me?
Sir, in like I can relate it to polymorphism, sir, but I don't know how to exactly answer this.
No, please look into that. Right? The preparation for the placement needs something a different way in which you look into. That's why these questions have been framed. Okay, I will tell you. Right? Let's look at this explanation. Right? Let me use this marking. I don't know why every time it goes off.
May I try once?
Ankit, try.
Sir, according means the definition of polymorphism, we know, sir, like having different forms.
Mhm.
But according to the code means how it helps in the code maintainability, sir.
Mhm.
Means ki, let's suppose, sir, when a new data type is introduced.
Mhm.
When a new data type is introduced, sir, then what happens means all the polymorphic calls
Mhm.
that handle type must be augmented. It must be augmented, sir, and the code change, and that code change, sir, it will be dispersed over many places in the program. So here this polymorphic call, sir, it actually helps us, a programmer, to define all that new code in one place.
How?
So that gives the advantage of like implementation, advantage of implementation, sir.
Okay. Not fully accepted. Right? Not fully accepted. Right?
Excuse me, sir. May I try, sir?
What is your name?
Ajay, sir.
Ajay, go ahead.
Ajay Habib.
Go ahead.
Sir, yes, sir. So in case of polymorphic call, sir, what happens is, sir, like we write the code only one time, sir, and we can use it as as many times as we want. So it reduces the code, sir. So through we can also achieve the maintainability as well from reducing the code as well.
Write the code once, use multiple times.
Yes, sir. Reusability.
No, I'm not asking about the reusability. I'm asking about how polymorphic calls helps in code maintainability. This.
Excuse me, sir.
Who's that?
Shrikar, sir.
Shrikar, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sometimes we need to perform the same operation, but taking different signatures. Like the number of parameters we will be taking will be different, but the function name has to be same for that. In that case, we use polymorphism.
You are talking about the overloading.
Yes, sir. Function overloading.
That's the one aspect of polymorphism, right? But that is a limited understanding of polymorphism. Okay, many forms. What is a many forms? Okay, listen. Right? So that is a limited sense of polymorphism, what you are talking about, that it is also right, true. But we wanted the precise understanding of how it helps in maintainability. Look, right? What you mean by many forms? That's the one thing, right? Now consider, right? Okay, this is the popular example that I give, right? Here also I give the same example. Consider I've got an abstract class called shape, right? From this, I inherit, right, several things. Say, for example, I inherit, okay, rectangle, right? I inherit, right, circle. In short, I'll be writing all these things. Okay, I inherit triangle. Okay, assume that there are, okay, 100 shapes in this, 100 shapes, right? Now consider, right, I have say draw method. Okay, in short, I'll write D, draw method. So naturally, when I inherit all these things, the draw methods are available in all the shapes. Do you agree? Draw method is available in all the shapes. Do you agree? Hello, all of you?
Yes.
Right. And thus, now, okay, how do I write the code? Object-oriented code. Now, what is a polymorphic call? The polymorphic call is something like this, right? I'll create an object of the type base class. O1 is an object, OR is an object reference of the type, right? Of the type abstract class ES, right? Then what I do is, then in that what I do is I'll simply call, right, this object reference dot, this is dot, right, draw. This method I call, this is a generic call, right? This is the generic call. Now look into that, right? I write only this code, that's all, in a polymorphic call. Now what happens is, right, what OR represents? If the OR represents triangle, sorry, square, this is called draw of the square is called. If it is represents a triangle, triangle's draw is called. If it is a circle, circle's draw is called. Irrespective of number of shapes, it could be 100, 200, 10,000, whatever that is there, right? Single line statement enables the calling the draw of different objects, right? What happens here, right? I mean, the meaning of a polymorphic call is send a generic message, right, to different object. Send a generic message to different object and leave its implementation to the object itself. That means how the draw is to be implemented, it is left to this square. How the draw of the circle is to be done, it is left to the circle. How the draw of the triangle is to be done, it is left to the triangle. And this is the definition of a polymorphic call. A polymorphic call enables sending a generic message to different object, leaving its implementation to the object themselves. Are you getting it? So now look into that. Today graphical system, you developed a software, maybe a graphics related things and all. Assume that there are only, right, 3 shapes are there. Look at the yellow marking. Only 3 shapes are there. And my code is this, right? And tomorrow you add another 97 code, making it as 100, right? My code still remains the same thing. It doesn't change at all. The only thing I have to do, what I have to do is, in my menu, assume that a red color menu here, my system, in the menu, whatever that is, menu items are there, add that 97 shapes, and when somebody click that button, that reference of that object, pass it, okay, here object reference. That's all the change I have to do. My entire code remains the same, right? So what is maintainability? The maintainability is the one that means with the least number of changes, I should accommodate the changes required for the software. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not changing the code at all. Look at the left hand side, right? Look at the left hand side, the vertical line, whatever I'm doing, I'm not changing this at all. With the least number of changes in the code, I'm accommodating all 97 code references. 97 different shapes. Are you clear about this? Are you clear about this? On the contrary, if I don't use object orientation, what happens? I'll share with you. I'll remove this. Shall I clean this board? Shall I clean the board? Dheeraj?
Yes.
Right. Now look
Excuse me,
at
sir.
that. Okay, who's that?
Sir, Varun, sir. Sir, can you please repeat it? Sir?
Now see here. I'll repeat. Right. See here. So consider that I'll be using the 1 minute blue color marking. See. So consider you have a abstract class called shape, and it has a method called draw. In short, I'll be calling it as draw, D. Then I create new classes called, okay, the square here, then circle here, then triangle here. Okay, they all inherit from, right, my, okay, shape class. And because they inherit the draw method, they are available in all these classes. Assume that initially there are only 3, okay, classes there: square, circle, rectangle. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, how do my object-oriented code looks? I create object reference OR, which is of the type abstract class shape. Yes. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then what I do is this object reference OR dot D, right? I call, right? What is that I'm doing? Right? In OR object reference, if I store the reference of any instance of square, the square dot draw is called. If in the circle reference, if I keep it here, circle draw is called. If a triangle reference is kept in OR, triangle is called. So what is that I am doing? OR dot D is a generic statement. That means you send a generic message draw, right, and to the different object, and leave its implementation to the object itself. This feature is called polymorphic call in true sense. A
Okay.
generic call, but they go to specific object and they are interpreted in a different way in different objects. Call is generic, but implementation is specific in each object, separate, they are different. This is called polymorphic call, different forms. The D, draw method D, whatever you are doing, is a generic which will take a different form in different objects. We'll see this particularly, this example in C++. I'll show you. Through program, I will show you. And in my A division class, this is what I was telling. The polymorphic calls, I'll show you with reference to C++. Is that clear? Hello, all of you. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
clear? I'll clean the
Yes, sir.
board and I'll get into the same problem with, right, the non-object oriented things. Then you will understand what benefit polymorphic call will give. But now look into that, my green color marking, see. Tomorrow you add 100, right, different objects in this class diagram, right? Different 90, another 97 you add it. Will my code, look at the left hand side, will this code will change? No, it remains same. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But only thing is the object reference should point to appropriate object. OR should point to appropriate object. Then, okay, everything works. That means, right, whenever you bring any change as a part of a maintenance, right, you should not disturb, right, more and more code, or you should, right, alter lesser and lesser code. The lesser the code you touch, the better is the maintainability. For any change, right? See, whenever you bring any change, it is equivalent to throwing a stone, right, in water. When you throw the stone in the water, okay, you will find the water ripples, you know, wave ripples, you will see it. Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
That ripple you have to contain within a small area. That means the changes should not disturb more and more code. Lesser the code you alter, the better maintainability is. Right? So that happens because of the object orientation. Dikshita, that's how, okay, it will add it to the reduction in complexity. I bring a change is within the class. It doesn't affect rest all the place.
Yes, sir.
Got it? Right. Now, have you understood the polymorphic call?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, I will tell you a non-object orientation, what happens. Is that clear? Shall I go to next one? Hello. Shall I go to next one?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Ankit. Ankit.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now I will clean the board. Right. Now see, right, what happens, right? What happens in a non-object orientation. See, I have a shape class. This is the shape which has a draw method, right? Then I have a square is inherited from this. Then I have a circle is inherited from this. Then I have a triangle inherited from this. Like this, assume that there are 100 shapes are there. This is the design. Now I will implement this design in a non-object oriented way. How do I do? Simple. My code looks like this, right? If, right, if shape equal to, right, now look at that, I'm writing, if shape equal to, okay, square or rectangle, then what I do is open and close, right, rectangle, right, draw, I'll call. Rectangle draw, I'll call. Else, now look at that, else, right, again, if, right, if shape equal to, in short, I'll write equal to circle, right, then what I'll do again, open bracket, close bracket, circle draw, I will call. Circle draw, I'll call. So look at that, such 100 shapes are there, means 100, if then else, I'll write it. Now look at the how code becomes bigger one. How code becomes a bigger one. Are you getting this? Are you getting this? Dheeraj?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, if at all you add 97 additional, okay, additional shape, right? 97 times you have to write if then else. Okay, code. But in object-oriented concepts of polymorphic call, you have written only once and you have not changed that at all. Are you clear? How it looks? Is that clear? In object orientation, what we were doing? Object reference, I'm writing here, look at that, dot, right, draw. This one line is written initially and we have not added any other line. Assume that there are 100 shapes, 100 times if then else you have to write it. But here there's only one line. That's the end of that. So in case of polymorphic call, right, okay, the code becomes more concise and intellectually more appealing. A polymorphic call code is precise, okay, concise. Rather than precise, I can say concise, very small, very short. Whereas non-polymorphic call, right, the code is very lengthy. Ankit, making some sense here at this stage?
Sorry, sir.
Making some sense here, whatever I'm discussing here?
Yes, sir.
Non-object oriented code and object oriented code using polymorphic call. How does it makes a difference?
Yes, sir.
But we will see all these things in C++. We are going through only the concept, assuming that polymorphism you have done it in Java.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, who's that?
Shrikar, sir.
Shrikar, tell me.
Sir, if you consider the 100 shapes, then
it is on the assumption, no, sir, that all the 100 shapes must have different number of arguments. Otherwise,
No, no, no. Look at that. All 100 shape, they must derive from shape only, right? So they have a, okay, D, that is draw is common. That's what is an, okay, the use of an abstract class. The use of an abstract class we are not yet touched upon, right? That will
yes,
ensure, that will ensure when you derive from the shape, you mean to you must have a draw same everywhere, but the implementation of a draw will be different in different shape.
yes, sir. The difference between two shapes, it will be distinguished only based on the number of arguments we
No,
pass.
no, 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 no. You don't compare this with your old good function overloading. There is nothing like a function overloading here. No argument. Okay, that is different. Function overloading you are talking. Okay, that is a very primitive form of the polymorphism. Here we are talking the call. Look at that. There is no, okay, no parameters at all. Simply you can call D. That's all. Right? Of course, you are saying that the square has a different parameter, circle has a different parameter, triangle has a different parameter. Not necessary. Okay, that I pass here. Okay, probably that may be available inside this only. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
The session is getting closed in next 5 minutes. Right? Are you clear about this? Hello.
Yes, sir. One question. Sir, still we do have to change the name of the object, right?
No, no, no.
We don't have to.
This is the shape, right? The abstract class.
Excuse me, sir.
One, okay, you have a triangle, okay, your square, you have a circle, your triangle, all this is the design, right? Now, in object-oriented
Yes.
things, what you are doing is OR object reference dot draw you are calling. This remains same, I'm telling you. This line you are not going to change, right? And whatever the name you give it, that when you click a menu, that object reference, you are making it available here. That's the only minimum change you are doing. I'm not changing any okay, call here. Call is same. Only the OR is a pointer. In C language, in terms of C language, when I say OR is as an object pointer. The object pointer, whatever the object it points, the corresponding draw is called. If I point to Dheeraj, Dheeraj draw. If I point to Ankit, Ankit draw. If I point to Ashish, Ashish draw. That's what is a polymorphic call.
Yes, sir. Sir, can we have a code example, sir? Because
Wait. You will be having a code example for that. Wait for that.
yes,
Right? In
yes,
fact, the code segment is only this this much. You please adjust for under 1 or 2 days. Code will begin. Very soon we'll enter into this. Right? Very soon.
yes, sir.
Right? Code is or.d only. Take that, this is the code, over. Right? Then what I do is, now consider, okay, I think after under 5 minutes, again, come back to this again. Right? Okay, this square reference is, okay, call it as a D1 object. Sorry, O1 object. Then circle object is O2 object. Then which one you will keep? In OR, object reference equal to, right? If you keep O1, then okay, the rectangle dot draw is called. If you keep OR object reference equal to, if you keep O2, then circle dot draw is called here. This is the code exactly I'm talking in C++. Wait, for a complete demonstration, you need to wait for that. Hello, is that clear? Dheeraj?
Yes, sir.
Right. The meeting is getting close now. Okay, I'll end this meeting, then come back for additional explanation for under 5 minutes, then we'll stop. Right? So I'll end the meeting now. Please join again for the same thing.
Yes.